Hello, Sableduo Gaming here, and if you didn't know by now, then I will tell you. Nintendo had a meeting, and from their discussion, the Happy Mask Salesman was, the Happy Mask Salesman from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was confirmed to reappear in a future game. Well, I have two predictions on what future game he will appear in. One is short, while the other is very long. And it's probably going to be the bulk of this video. I will start with the shorter one. I predict that he could be a Super Smash Bros. 4 DLC character. Now, since he's a very mysterious character himself, and not much is known about him, I don't really have a clue on what his moveset would be. I think Nintendo would have to improvise on that, kind of like what they did with Pac-Man. And now that is very self-explanatory and open for interpretation. So I am now moving on to my second prediction. I predict that the Happy Mask Salesman will be in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 2. I predict there will be a sequel, because there's a possible way that the story hasn't ended, and I have a good idea on how that sequel will go, and it's a pretty good one. My idea is that when Majora's Mask was defeated in the first game, in order to remain alive, he transported his soul, or his being, through time, all the way until the Triforce was completely restored from Ganon, which is the events after Ocarina of Time, from when Link was an adult. And because what you didn't know is Majora was an immortal deity who was created by an ancient shaman who had secretly stolen the Triforce to use some of its power to create the Tetraforce, as what is called, which was Majora's power source, and practically it's his soul, his being. Majora is technically the Tetraforce. Now that the Triforce has been completely restored, Majora can use its power to completely drain all of its energy and completely become the entire Triforce with it. The entire Triforce and the entire thing, okay? So he can become unstoppable. When this happens, you can only have 24 hours to save the entire world. Only 24 hours. But wait. This time, you realize that there is absolutely no way at all for Majora to be stopped. So you travel through time all the way to the distant past. This timeline was during the time the Happy Mask Salesman first went looking for the mask. You have to go alongside with him to retrieve all parts to an ancient map or some sort of thing, so that you can find the shaman, and that you can stop him from creating the Tetraforce, so that Majora would never exist and all problems would be solved entirely. But the hard part is the journey, with what I predict to be around 9 temples, with 3 temples in the past Hyrule, 4 temples in past Termina, 1 temple in present, and 1 temple at the Shaman's Lair, which is practically the last place. And if you haven't noticed, when I said in past Hyrule and past Termina, I did imply that you can go between both Termina, both Hyrule, and then go into the future to the 24-hour time and survive in Hyrule or Termina. In the past, there is an infinity amount of time, but you are constantly being forced to go to the present to solve objectives. And as I said, you only have 24 hours to solve very short objectives, as they are very short, and is all going to be within the time limit. And in the present, you have every item as well, which is practically what I said is the future. But, it's the future from the perspective of the past, but present from the perspective of present. Okay? Sorry to confuse you. It's time travel. You can't get confusing. But most of the game takes place in the past, in which you don't have every item. In fact, you may have very few items. At start, when you first go into the past, you have absolutely 0 items but your sword and shield, and you have to go get some items. That was how I predict the sequel to Majora's Mask will be like. This has been Sableduo Gaming here, and leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. But for now, I am signing off.